Hey guys! So it's been a while since I've done a book review, but I just finished reading this last night. I'm very fragile right now. So today I'm going to be reviewing The Fifth Wave by Yancey. This book was so good. As usual, I'm going to have a non-spoilery review and then I'm going to talk about spoilers. And don't worry, I'm going to warn you when that happens. Don't get mad at me. So for those of you who have not read The Fifth Wave and don't really know what it's about, it's basically in the world that we live in right now. Like if the world was to be taken over by aliens at this very moment. These aliens, instead of just taking over the world, have chosen to kill all of the humans in different waves. The first wave is they cut off all the power, and the second wave is this huge tsunami, and the third wave is like a disease, that kind of thing. Finding different ways to wipe out the human race. And the main character, Cassie, is just a normal, everyday high school girl. The army is collecting all of the children under a certain age, and they're just sending them all to this camp. So Cassie's little brother gets sent to this camp. Cassie promised him that she was going to come for him. Pretty much nothing is going to stand in the way of Cassie and this promise to her brother. But of course, since she was just a normal girl before all this happened, she doesn't really have survival skills till she meets Evan Walker. Evan kind of nurses her back to health, and she decides that she can use him to get to her brother because he does have survival skills. And that is as much as I can tell you about the book without spoiling things. I picked it up in the bookstore without really knowing anything about it, and I am so glad that I did that because this is honestly one of the best books I've read in a long time. Obviously, if you're a fan of books like The Host or Divergent or Hunger Games, definitely read The Fifth Wave. It is so worth it. Anyway, just read it, just trust me. If you have not read the book, leave this video now, go read it, and then come back and watch the rest because I am now going to give spoilers. Cassie Sullivan is one of the best female protagonists that I've ever read. First of all, she's a Sassmaster 9000, and that's my favorite type of person. But I also love that she was just this totally normal girl that got thrust into this abnormal situation. Cassie is what all of us would be if we had to fight for our lives. She doesn't 100% know what to do. She knows that she just has to keep going if she's gonna get to Sammy. Unlike the usual dystopian heroine like Katniss Everdeen, Cassie did not grow up having to fight for her life. She had a very normal lifestyle. She went to school, she had a crush on a boy. She never had to shoot a gun before this. So it's super interesting to see how she goes from just being pretty soft to being so badass. And also, I feel like a lot of times when I read a book that's written by anyone that's not a teenage girl, they don't really talk like real teenagers talk. Like, they'll just use all these big words and nobody really talks like that. But Yancey did a really great job of writing like teenage girls talk. I have not seen writing this accurate for a teenage girl written by an adult man since John Green and the Fault in Our Stars. Just the way that she reacts to seeing a cute boy after all this time, that's normal. And can we just take a moment of appreciation? Yancey is the only author to mention that even in a post-apocalyptic world, girls get their periods. I have always wondered about that. What do they do when they're on their periods? Yancey, thank you. On behalf of girls, just thank you for acknowledging it. I don't know what to say about Evan Walker. I love him. I have not loved a male character this much since probably Ethan Wade in Beautiful Creatures. He's the sweetest, and I can't talk, my voice is getting weird because I can't talk about him. We knew that there was something a little bit weird about Evan, but all of his explanations made total sense. Then you would kind of just think, oh, am I just being crazy? Or are we just supposed to not trust him? And now for Ben Parrish. First time we read in Ben's perspective, did anybody else not see that coming? It took me 4 pages to even realize that we were in a different narrative. So when it gets to the end and it said Benjamin Thomas Parrish, I was like, what? I know a lot of people say that when Cassie described Ben, he kind of came off as like just a high school jock. I didn't get that. I thought that he seemed so sweet, and I probably would have had a crush on him too, to be honest. And the whole time I was just waiting for Ben and Cassie to come face to face. I was like, when is it gonna happen? I actually really thought that one of them was going to kill the other one. I'm so happy that I was wrong about that. First, I didn't really like the different point of views in the book. I mean, we had about 100 pages to get used to Cassie and how she sees things and the way she talks, and then it just switches it up so suddenly, like with no warning at all. It wasn't until about halfway through the book that I decided, like, okay, I want to know what's happening here too. I also thought it was really cool and really different that most of the dystopian novels that you read are far in the future, and we wouldn't really have to worry about that now, and it's a different world completely. The thing about the fifth wave is that it's happening right now, and there's just such, I mean, there's references to like Justin Bieber and Twitter. I can also really appreciate about this book is that the love story was very real. It felt real. It wasn't just like they meet, he's hot and I'm in love with him. It takes a long time. She has to learn, first of all, how to trust him, and then to deal with the fact that she finds out that he's an other. She kind of hates him for a little bit, but yet she's still drawn to him. Really, we only got like 2 or 3 kisses in the whole book, and it's a long book. I hate when the love story takes over the main purpose of the book, and that's not something that happened here. Pretty much my favorite part of this whole book was just Cassie being Cassie. And like I said before, she's really, really badass, but she has not always been badass. It's so recent for her. Unlike Katniss Everdeen, she didn't have to grow up and fend for herself and find her own food and provide for her family. She had 2 parents and they lived in a nice house. She had food to eat, and she didn't have to fight for anything. And the moment that made this book for me is when Vosh was about to kill Sammy. He said some kind of snarky remark, I can't remember what it was, and Cassie just looks at him and says, "Fuck you." Oh my god! I started yelling. I yelled, okay? Oh my god, I love Cassie. Cassie Sullivan is the queen. I had to put the book down for a second. That moment was everything to me, to be honest with you. Oh my god, I loved it. So yeah, I loved everything about this book. I felt like at points it could be pretty predictable, but at the same time I was doubting myself. I was like, oh, Evan's gonna turn out to be an other. But then at the same time I was like, no, I think I could be wrong. I think I could be wrong. To the point where I was kind of surprised when it happened. It made you doubt yourself. It made you doubt everything. Honestly, I can't wait till they make this into a movie, because I know that they're going to, because it deserves it. It was so good. I'm so excited for the second book, but part of me wishes I would have waited till longer. I've never had to wait for a second book before. This is torture. It's been like 12 hours since I finished it, and it's already, I can't handle the wait. This is one of the best books I had read in such a long time, and I want everyone to read it right now. I gotta stop talking about it. I'm getting so worked up. Gives good history. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? What did I write this? What does that mean? I wrote this at like 2 a.m. last night. I have no idea what I'm talking about.